Hello. I think you should sit down for this, son. My father's voice crackled through the phone, heavy with guilt. Your mother and we've known about Laura and Chris for months. The world tilted sideways. My wife and my brother. And my parents had known. How long? My voice sounded strange. Distant. Since Christmas. 6 months. They'd known for 6 months while I worked extra hours to afford the house Laura wanted. While I attended family dinners. While my own brother smiled to my face. Why tell me now? A long pause. Laura's pregnant. The phone creaked in my grip. And the timing. It has to be Chris's. She told your mother she's 3 months along, but you were in Houston for that whole month on the Miller project. I closed my eyes, remembering all those video calls with Laura during my business trip. How she'd said she missed me. How she'd been so understanding about the long hours. Saying she was keeping busy with family. My brother. There's more, Dad continued, his voice breaking. Your mother. She's been helping them hide it. She thought if Laura and Chris could work through their feelings, they'd end things naturally. She didn't want to destroy the family. A bitter laugh escaped me. So she helped them destroy me instead. He wanted to say something, but I cut him off. How many dinners? How many Sunday gatherings did you all sit there, watching me play the oblivious husband while my brothers screwed my wife under our family's protection? We thought we were protecting you. By lying? By watching them make a fool of me? They're meeting right now, he said quietly. At the lake house. Your mother finally told me she's been letting them use it for months. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. The lake house. My grandfather's wedding gift to us. The place where Laura and I had spent our honeymoon. Does Chris know you're telling me?
No.
None of them know. Your mother will be furious. Good. I was already grabbing my keys. Stay furious. Stay guilty. You've earned it. I hung up and pulled up the security app on my phone. The one I'd installed at the lake house after a break-in last year. The cameras showed 2 cars in the driveway, Laura's SUV and Chris's pickup. Time to pay my dear family a surprise visit. The 40-minute drive to the lake house gave me time to remember all the little moments that should have raised red flags. Chris offering to help Laura with errands whenever I worked late. My mother's strange comments about how close our family had become. Laura's sudden interest in attending every family function, even the ones she used to skip. The security app showed movement in the master bedroom. I forced myself not to look at the live feed. Some things you can't unsee. I parked half a mile down the road and walked the rest of the way, memories hitting me with every step. Laura and I had walked this same path countless times, planning our future. Now she was up there planning a different future with my brother while my own mother ran interference. The front door was unlocked. Of course it was. Why worry about security when you have the family's blessing? I moved silently through the house my grandfather had trusted me to preserve for the next generation. Now it was being used to destroy his legacy. Their voices drifted down from upstairs, completely at ease. They were discussing names for the baby. My brother was suggesting our grandfather's name. It would mean so much to the family, he was saying. Mom's already so excited about the baby. I'm more worried about telling Eric, Laura replied. He's been so distant lately, working all the time. He's always been career-obsessed. That's why Chris stopped abruptly. They'd heard me on the stairs. I pushed open the bedroom door. They were both fully dressed. Thank God for small mercies. Sitting on the bed with baby name books spread around them. The same bed where Laura and I had spent our honeymoon. Eric! Laura jumped up. What are you doing here? Finished. Funny. I was about to ask my brother the same thing. In my lake house. With my wife. Chris stood slowly, hands raised like I was pointing a gun instead of just staring at him. Brother, let's talk about this calmly. Like how calmly you've been screwing my wife. Or how calmly our mother has been covering for you. Laura went pale. Your mother knows? They all know. Have known since Christmas. Apparently, I was the only one not invited to the Destroy Eric's marriage party. It's not like that, Chris started. Really? Because from where I'm standing it looks exactly like that. My brother and my wife having an affair in my grandfather's house, with our parents' knowledge. Please, tell me what I'm missing. We fell in love, Laura said, as if that explained everything. We didn't mean for it to happen. But you meant to keep it happening. For months. While I worked overtime to give you everything you wanted. I turned to Chris. And you, my own brother. Was it fun? Playing happy family while stabbing me in the back? You were never around. Laura burst out. Always working, always busy. Chris was there for me. There for you? In our bed, apparently. I pulled out my phone, showing them the security app. Did you really think I wouldn't have cameras in my own house? Their faces went from pale to gray as they realized what that meant. How much? Chris swallowed hard. How much did you record? Enough to make family Christmas very interesting this year. Though I suspect the baby announcement might overshadow my slideshow. The front door slammed downstairs. Chris? Laura? My mother's voice carried up the stairs. I saw Eric's car down the road. We need to. She froze in the doorway, taking in the scene. Perfect timing, Mom, I said coldly. We were just discussing how long you've been helping my wife and brother conduct their affair in Grandpa's house. She straightened her spine, ever the family matriarch. I was trying to protect this family. By destroying mine? By giving them time to work through their feelings without anyone getting hurt. I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. Without anyone getting hurt? Tell me, Mom. When exactly did I stop being part of this family you're so desperate to protect? Eric, please understand. Understand what? That my own mother chose my brother's affair over her other son's marriage? That you let me work 60-hour weeks to provide for my wife while she was sleeping with Chris? That you sat across from me at Sunday dinners watching them exchange looks and said nothing? Laura stepped forward. Your mother was trying to help. Don't. My voice could have frozen hell. You don't get to defend her. Not when you're carrying my brother's child and planning to pass it off as mine. My mother gasped. The baby? You know? Dad finally grew a conscience. Figured someone in this family should. Dad told you? Now she looked truly shaken. But we agreed. To keep lying to me? To watch me raise my brother's child? To let me be the family joke? Chris finally spoke up. No one was laughing at you, brother. Don't call me that. Brothers don't do what you did. And mothers? I turned back to Mom. Don't help their sons destroy each other. I didn't want to lose either of you, she whispered. Congratulations. You lost both of us. Along with any chance of ever meeting your grandchild. Laura's hand flew to her stomach. You can't keep us from. Watch me. I've already called my lawyer. He's drawing up restraining orders. Against all of you. You'd cut off your own family? My mother looked horrified. My family? Let's see. My wife is sleeping with my brother, my mother helped them do it, and my father waited 6 months to tell me. Exactly what family am I cutting off? I pulled out an envelope and dropped it on the bed. Divorce papers. My lawyer will be reaching out about the video evidence. I'm sure the judge will find the timestamps interesting. Especially the ones showing how long this has been going on. Video evidence? My mother went pale. From the security cameras. In the house you let them use for their affair. I've got months of footage. Every visit, every lie, every family dinner where you all played me for a fool. Chris stepped toward me. Brother, please. I said don't call me that. I backed toward the door. You all wanted to be a family so badly? Congratulations. You can have each other. I'm done. Eric, wait. Laura called out. We need to talk about this. I paused in the doorway. Talk to my lawyer. I'm sure he'll be very interested in how you plan to commit paternity fraud. Almost as interested as the medical board will be in how your OBGYN helped you fake the conception date. The last thing I saw as I walked away was my mother sinking onto the bed. The weight of her choices finally hitting her. Laura was crying, probably realizing her perfect plan was falling apart. And Chris? He just stood there, watching his brother walk away for the last time. Let them comfort each other. They'd chosen this family. Now they could live with it. The family implosion was spectacular. Within days of my lawyer sending the video evidence to all parties involved, the carefully constructed lies began to crumble. My father moved out of the family home, unable to face my mother's betrayal any longer. I should have told you sooner. he kept saying during his visits to sign affidavits about when he discovered the affair. I'll never forgive myself for staying quiet. Laura's parents were next to learn the truth. Her mother showed up at my office, tears streaming down her face. We raised her better than this, she said, handing me a letter. She needs to face the consequences. The letter was Laura's confession, written to her parents. She detailed everything. How the affair started during my business trips, how my mother had helped them hide it, how they'd planned to pass the baby off as mine. She even admitted they'd been using my grandfather's lake house for months before getting caught. Your mother helped them? Her father was furious when he read it. While you were working to provide for their daughter? My lawyer was particularly interested in the part where Laura admitted to conspiring with her doctor to falsify the conception date. That's medical fraud, he explained. Not to mention the potential paternity fraud. No judge will look kindly on this level of deception. The medical board agreed. Laura's OBGYN was now under investigation, her license at risk. Turned out she'd helped other women pull similar schemes. The FBI was getting involved. Chris tried damage control, showing up at my office unannounced. Security footage shows him waiting in the lobby for hours before finally leaving a letter. I know I can never make this right, he wrote, but the baby deserves to know its father. I forwarded the letter to my lawyer without reading the rest. Let him explain to a judge why he deserved any rights to a child conceived in betrayal. My mother's attempts at reconciliation were the worst. She sent daily emails, each one more desperate than the last. I only wanted to keep the peace, she wrote, to keep both my sons. You lost both of us, I replied to her final message. And you'll never know your grandchild. That's the peace you kept. The family business wasn't spared either. Chris and I were equal partners in the construction company our grandfather had built. Now my lawyers were initiating a forced buyout, using the affair as grounds for dissolving our partnership. You can't do this, Chris protested during the first negotiation meeting. This company is our legacy. Was our legacy, I corrected, before you decided to screw my wife in our grandfather's house. Wonder what he'd think of how you honored his gifts. Laura tried playing the victim when she realized her perfect plan was falling apart. She showed up at my new apartment, crying about how she never meant to hurt me. I'll raise the baby alone, she sobbed. Just don't drag this through the courts. You mean don't let everyone know what you did? I smiled coldly. Too late. Check your email. The medical board wants to interview you about your doctor's creative dating of your pregnancy. Her face crumpled as she realized the full scope of what was coming. No quiet divorce. No secret scandal. Everything would be exposed in court records and medical board hearings. Just like their affair had exposed the rot at the core of our family. The final court hearing fell on what would have been my 10th wedding anniversary. Laura sat with Chris and my mother on one side of the courtroom, while my father chose to sit behind me. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. The judge had seen thousands of divorce cases, but even she seemed taken aback by the level of familial betrayal. The evidence was damning. Security footage, email trails, medical records showing the planned paternity fraud, and financial documents proving they'd used my own money to fund their affair. Your Honor, Laura's lawyer tried one last time. My client was in an emotionally vulnerable state, while conducting a long-term affair with her husband's brother in a house gifted by their grandfather. The judge's voice could have cut steel. While conspiring with her doctor to commit paternity fraud. While accepting financial support from the man she was deceiving. That kind of vulnerable? My mother tried to speak up, but the judge shut her down. Mrs. Anderson, given your role in facilitating this deception, you might want to remain silent. The final judgment was comprehensive. Laura got nothing in the divorce, no alimony, no property rights, not even her wedding ring. The judge was particularly harsh about the planned paternity fraud. The premeditated nature of this deception is staggering, she declared. The court has referred the medical fraud evidence to the district attorney's office. Chris lost his share of the family business, forced to sell at a steep discount due to the morality clause in our partnership agreement. Our grandfather had insisted on including it. To protect the family legacy, he'd said. He'd never imagined it would protect that legacy from family itself. My mother's attempts to paint herself as a peacekeeper backfired spectacularly when the judge reviewed her text messages coordinating their meetups at the lake house. You didn't protect family harmony, the judge told her. You enabled and actively assisted in the destruction of your son's marriage. The court rarely comments on moral failings beyond legal matters, but your actions deserve special mention. The baby was born 3 months after the divorce was finalized. DNA tests confirmed what everyone already knew. Chris and Laura tried to play happy family, but the weight of their choices haunted them. The medical board investigation destroyed Laura's OB/GYN's career and sparked a wider investigation into paternity fraud cases. My father filed for divorce from my mother the same day the baby was born. I spent 40 years building a family, he told me. She destroyed it in 6 months of lies. The lake house was sold. The proceeds donated to a foundation supporting victims of paternity fraud. Laura and Chris tried to block the sale, claiming emotional attachment. The judge's response was scathing. You forfeited any emotional claims when you turned a family gift into a venue for betrayal. 1 year later, I received a letter from my mother. Inside was a photo of Chris, Laura, and their baby at some family gathering. On the back she'd written, "We're still your family. Whenever you're ready to forgive." I sent back a copy of the security footage timestamps, showing every date she'd helped them use the lake house. Under it, I wrote, "Family doesn't destroy family. Enjoy the life you chose." The letter was returned unopened. Apparently, they'd moved away after Chris lost his contractor's license, another consequence of the fraud investigation. My father heard they'd gone to live with Laura's family in Oregon. Let them run. Let them hide. Let them build their new life on the ashes of the family they burned down. I had the satisfaction of knowing that every time they looked at their child, they'd remember the price of their betrayal. Sometimes family isn't worth saving. Sometimes the only victory is walking away and letting karma do its work. The final twist? My grandfather's will had a morality clause too. The trust he'd set up for his grandchildren just transferred fully to me. Chris's share, meant for his future children, was forfeit due to his actions unbefitting the family name. Grandfather always did believe in justice. Guess some family traits are worth keeping after all. Thank you for listening the story to the end. Write your thoughts about it in the comments and do not forget to subscribe. See you in the next videos. Bye.